Warning: the following video may have language that some viewers may find offensive, and others are already offended. Viewer discretion is advised, but not really. No animals were hurt in the making of this 4-hour feature film.
Good morning, everybody, and as you can see, sitting right here, hey, we're doing a little different today. People know this guy, Mr. Mike Vecchio.
Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
Dr. Mike.
Not a doctor.
Not a doctor.
Not a doctor.
See? I always want to call him Dr. Mike.
We
It
can go
sounds
with that
cool.
today. Today it's going to be Dr. Mike.
You're Dr. Mike
All
today.
right. Fair
Okay.
enough.
All
Okay.
right.
Why not?
So
And you can be Dr. Phil.
that's I'm Dr. Phil. Hey, I'm getting my hair back.
I noticed that. It
Yeah,
looks good.
I decided to.
Is
see
that
if
your
it
actual
would-
hair?
It is my actual.
See, podcasts are fun
Still
because you
pretty.
can say whatever you want.
You do can say yes, you can. Even though Rogers, we kind of got
Right.
right. But
Oh, shoot.
so anyway, the Full Monty video podcast we film and produce right here in St. Thomas, Ontario. Mike Vecchio is joining me today. We're co-hosting because we have an amazing guest today. Somebody that I'm sure you heard his voice, and if you know this man, I'm sure they picked up on who it was already.
I
Right?
think they probably do.
Well known.
I'd
I'd
say.
say.
I'd say.
Okay.
A lot of people, more people know him that are in the ground than know him above the ground. Can we say that?
Yeah, we
that
can.
make sense?
But I don't think the ones that were his customers have ever come back to give him a review.
No, that's true. The Google review on this guest are.
I'm going to go with that, okay?
He's
Probably
well grounded.
he's well grounded.
I like that.
You know what
Start
else?
with that.
Also, I always said I wanted to kind of work in not his industry, but part of that industry, because in that way I would always be above everyone.
We should probably get this podcast going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that's I try, Mike. So
Listener.
this guy, 1893 was the conception of this business
Okay.
here in St. Thomas. Philip Richard or Dick Williams. Okay, how's that? Does that give you an idea? So from Williams Funeral Home, Mike, what do you
Williams
think?
Funeral
We're
Home?
going to welcome.
I'm going to welcome Mr. Al Hughson to the podcast today. Al,
Thank you.
Excellent.
thanks for joining us. Here
Thanks,
today.
Al, and you are here on doing the full Monty.
That's me.
Hey.
We asked that he wear clothes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll keep it nice. But,
Rogers.
yeah.
Yes.
Al, thanks.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for coming. So, man, you are so well known. I got to say, in this city.
Well liked.
Very
Well
liked.
respected.
Yes, well respected. I have never heard anything bad
No.
at all.
100%.
So, compassionate. The services you offer are amazing.
Well,
Really.
thank you. Thank you.
Also, not just in the funeral business, but I mean, you help so many other areas too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of service clubs, social clubs.
We could probably talk for 3 or 4 hours on the list of things
Oh my
Al's been
gosh.
involved in through the years.
Yes, that's right. So we're going to talk a little bit about Allan growing up,
Got
little
some
boy, see what kind of trouble you got into. I know there's some dirty things in your closet there, Allan. We all have them. So we're going to get you to spill today. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk a little bit about the funeral home.
Funeral home, Al's work that he does in the community, I think
Yes.
is super duper
We
important.
got to talk about that.
And I think we do need to go back to the early days because Al is originally from Aylmer.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
And what year were you born, Al?
In 1953.
1953.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what I understand,
I didn't think he was that old.
didn't either.
Oh,
Well, growing old is mandatory. Growing up is optional.
that's right.
Getting old is the goal. 'Cause if not, the alternative doesn't work really well. No,
Trust me, I know that.
That's right.
absolutely. So Al, you grew up in Aylmer, and you actually you lived over the funeral home
We did.
in Aylmer. Tell us about your early childhood.
Well, it was interesting because you don't know until you go to school that there's anything abnormal about living above a funeral home. But there were times we had to be quiet. In fact, I made my grand entrance in one of those walkers that are now banned because there was a stairs going downstairs from where we lived, and I decided in the middle of a funeral to do a roll down all the way down the stairs, and I hit the bottom, went on the wheels, and was laughing. So probably brain damage then, but it was just a different way of life because I got a lot of teasing at school, but I realized that they could tease me, but I had to be careful because they believed everything that I said, which most of it wasn't true. But,
I can't believe that.
But anyway, we got through it. And we had an interesting thing in our phone. We had back in the day, there was an operator and a phone, and we had the business phone. Well, when that phone rang, it was complete silence. It didn't matter if you were in a heated argument at the table. The phone rang, everybody was silent. The moment the phone got hung up,
Right back to it.
And it didn't matter whether it was Christmas or whatever, because we hosted every family event because we also had the ambulance service. So that whoever happened to be sitting at the table was second person on the ambulance, because there wasn't the programs. You learned by being out there. That was how you learned. And so anyway, there were a lot of people from Aylmer that were ambulance assistants. So I remember a cute story. My dad had got a brand new ambulance, and the vehicles back there really weren't, there was no station wagons or anything. They took the back seat out and converted it to an ambulance.
The cars were big enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were.
And my father had got a brand new ambulance. His first call was a fellow that used to get drunk regularly to go to the hospital. He loads them in the ambulance. He's going through New Sarum. Somebody runs a stop sign and totals the ambulance. The drunk staggered out of the back of the ambulance and says, "I can walk from here." And he never picked him up again. So just things like that happen. And the other thing is that all I remember is people coming and going because they stop in for coffee or to wash their car. It was a small town, so everybody helped everybody. The veterinarian would help my dad on an ambulance call. My dad would help the vet on a vet call. And there wasn't OHIP, there wasn't any of those things, so you just helped out. And I remember clearly, it was $2 for an ambulance call from Aylmer. $2 is what they got to go from Aylmer to Memorial Hospital back to Aylmer. And it was $2.50 if it was the other side of Aylmer. So, but, and there again, back in the day, the majority of children were born at home. So that the ambulance driver became the assistant of the doctor delivering that baby.
So we're not calling me doctor. We should have called these folks back in Aylmer doctor.
Yeah, but that's what would happen, and I think everybody just kind of grouped together and helped each other out. There wasn't the class system or anything. We were all in it together.
So you moved from Aylmer in that situation there and bought the funeral home that Tony was mentioning
Yeah,
at
in
the top of the show.
1967, we took over Williams.
So you were in grade 9,
Yes.
I understand. I've done some research here.
Yeah, you did do. Yes.
And
Grade 9 was the best 5 years of my life.
okay.
You were Googled and
Yeah.
different.
On different things, but this particular one, 1967 at Parkside Collegiate
Yes.
Institute in St. Thomas. Do you remember who the principal was?
Yes, the original principal was Stu Fenwick.
Do you know who he is?
Yes,
to me?
that's your mother's father.
That's my grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And
Oh,
now
there
I
you go.
understand, not that my grandfather told me because he's long gone, but I understand that you spent some time in his office.
Well, I filled in for him.
That's what I understand.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see where this
Tell
is
us
going.
about that, Al.
Yeah.
He didn't have to worry. I had it covered.
Yeah, I think he worried actually about it.
Yeah.
So
I
you-
was rather comfortable in his chair too, because I would do the morning announcements from there.
Anybody that knows my grandfather knows that probably didn't go over very well, but knowing Al, he probably made it okay. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So you did get in a little bit of shenanigans, but you wrestled, you played football for fun, for sports.
Yeah. Like I said to my kids when they started high school, if you want to have fun, get involved. So I was in the student council, boys aft. I was playing football, and anyway, the Latin teacher, I was doing terrible in Latin, but she said, "Alan, if you can get me 3 guys from football team to sing in my glee club, I'll give you a 51%. So I go to football practice, and I said, guy named Gary Vermeer says, where were you? I said, I just joined the glee club. Well, the guys are on the ground. I said, you know, there's 48 girls and one guy in the glee club, and they're looking for more guys. The whole team joined the glee club. We had the best male section of any. We get to go to Rotary music festivals and everything. Got out of class, and I got a 51%.
What a way to get the passing grade.
And we had more fun at Glee Club.
Yeah, you would. You would.
So good time at Parkside. What did you do after following your 5 years of grade 9?
Yes.
And then the rest of the high school. What did you decide was your path, Al?
Well, it's funny because we were talking about this the other day. There was grade 13 when I went to school. And even at grade 13, I wasn't mature enough to make decisions about the rest of my life. And now kids are in grade 12 and they're 17 and they're having to make these decisions. And I say, don't rush. It's your life. As much as people are well-meaning, it's your life, it's your decisions. Maybe you want to be a mechanic. Maybe you want to be a lawyer, whatever. But take your time. Because if you go to school at 17 and even 4 years of university, you're only 21 when you get out in the real world. And that's young. But you feel a lot of pressure to make those decisions. And it's interesting in high school, and it's even in one of the yearbooks, they said, what do you want to do when you're done school? I said, anything but funeral service, because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And at that, your social life is more important than your working life. But it's called maturity.
Yeah.
And even with Allie and Matt that work with me, it was their decision to go into it. I never said you have to be a funeral director, you have to. They came to me because down the road, you don't want to say, well, you made me be that.
Allie and Matt, for listeners, are two of Al's children.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they work with me. And Matt's the licensed funeral director, and Allie's the licensed pre-arranger. And then I have two daughters at Southwold that teach. But my two youngest came to me, and that's what they wanted to do. And so they can never say, well, you made me do this. You know, and it is. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
So you said that's the one thing I didn't want to do.
Yes.
was be in the funeral business 50 years later.
Yes.
Is it about 50 years?
Yes.
About...
Well, in fact, I just received an emeritus status for 50 years of being a licensed funeral, which gives you nothing but emeritus.
Whatever that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a feat. That is.
It takes a good partner to last 50 years in any business.
Well, and it takes a family to support you. You know, that wind beneath my wings. I tell you, that getting called out at 3 o'clock in the morning, or having little ones, and your wife is not feeling well but has to look after them because you're getting called out, that it's a family thing.
Yeah.
Like, people don't think, well, just because it's Christmas doesn't mean that you don't have to go into work, or just because it's a birthday or an anniversary or whatever.
And you said you're on call.
Sure.
24 hours a day. People don't check their watches before they pass away.
Death doesn't discriminate.
No, and I think the other thing is that when somebody phones, they get a person, somebody they know. I mean, now you go to Emerge or whatever, you don't particularly talk to your doctor. And we've lost that. Like
Personal touch.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I was watching a program a couple nights ago, and the city councilor said, look, people, if you want to have local stores, you've got to buy local. If you want somebody to support your business, but if you're buying everything at Costco and they got a little grocery store or a clothing store or something, if you don't support it, it won't be there. And then when all those are gone, then you don't have the option. You have to buy at Costco. And they've got and nothing against Costco, but that doesn't make a community go. And I can remember there again as a teenager, Friday nights, the downtown was packed because the stores were open, and you went down to meet your buddies, and you maybe play a game of pool at Kitschy's, and you go into the Rendezvous, and it was 25 cents for 3 songs on the jukebox. But that's disappearing to the point that the number one illness right now in North America, it isn't cancer, it isn't heart, it's mental illness, because people aren't socializing. And the worst thing, the COVID thing, made it even worse. It just moved it on. And now still like service clubs are shutting down and fraternal organizations are shutting down. I think there's 1 million less Shriners than there was a year ago.
Well, talking about service clubs, you're wearing your United Way pin there, Al. You recently won the King Charles commemorative pin as well, too, medal as well. Congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
as well.
Oh,
Yeah, we're
yes,
sitting with
congrats.
royalty, Tony.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, Chuck and I are good friends.
He was supposed to be there. He didn't show up.
He didn't show, but
No, but when I was lucky enough to MC that event, I'm cheap, apparently. Reading the list of not accomplishments, but things that you've been involved in now, I literally was winded by the time I got to the end of it. You've got a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business. What keeps you going in that part of your life?
Well, you've got to balance your life, and for me, like United Way or Big Brothers Big Sisters or whatever, gives a balance to that, because what I'm dealing with is heavy, like it's emotionally heavy. Well, if I can get up and MC or auction or whatever, that's fun for me. Like that's not an onerous thing. But
that was one of my questions I wanted to ask was, because you do deal in death and sorrow and a lot of crying, emotions are very high. So when you're growing up and you're telling your kids or somebody new coming into the business, how do you express to them the importance of taking away from that focus on, like, to keep your sanity, to keep yourself
Keep that
happy?
balance. Yeah.
It's got to be hard.
Well, it is, but you have to be subjective enough to understand, but objective enough to help.
Right.
You know, in any situation, whether to be able to step back and say, okay, this is what's happened, this is what we can do. Or you tell me which road and I'll help you along that road, but this is the situation and how are we going to deal with it? And I think you have like other things to focus on, whether it's that grandson's hockey game or the volleyball game or whatever it might be. You know, that it's taking the time. And there was a Tim Hortons commercial that was really cute, and it was I think it was the fellow was Chinese, but when the kid said, well, you know, he was never, and he was there, but he was in the background.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a quote that says, they won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. So as I get closer to the finish line, those little insignificant things turn out to be what's most important. That taking them fishing or playing road hockey with them or going to that dance recital, that you'd never regret taking the time. And Harry Chafin wrote that with The Cats in the Cradle. You know, take the time. And my view of life is, if I can change the people around me, if I can make somebody's life a little bit happier, their load a little bit lighter, then it's significant. And I think life is a journey, death is a journey, grief is a journey. They're all journeys, but just kind of change the people around you. And I know both you guys know that. Yeah. Like the secret to happiness isn't the car you drive, the house you lived in, or your bank account. That's not the secret to life. And you know, you see a 90-year-old who's volunteering for the Kennels for Salvation Army. They got a big smile on their face. You see somebody gathering toys for Christmas Care. They got a big smile on their face. They're dropping food off at the food bank for Christmas. You know, that's where happiness comes. And start with the people around you. You know, taking the time to play a game of crib, and while you're playing crib, they're venting. Yeah. You know, or things like that. That those moments are important.
See, Tony, I know you've probably been to a number of funerals services at Williams Funeral Home that Al has led.
Yeah, I actually asked him one time if I could move in upstairs.
Well,
we were there so much.
I see your future. Never mind, I'll leave it alone. One thing I've noticed over the years, from my grandmother to friends' parents to friends passing and going to services that Al has presided over, I always go in there and I've got Kleenexes in my pocket, and I've got Kleenexes in this pocket for Karen, my wife, because we know we're ready to cry. Like, I'm ready to be sad. And then this guy comes in, he's smiling. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be sad right now, but by the end of the service, I'm in a different zone, I'm in a different spot, I've celebrated the person that I've lost, and I feel better about my day moving forward. It's incredible, Al, what you do, and I don't think everybody is the same as you. Not saying that they're bad, but I think the way you handle not only your life but your business says a lot about the person that you are, and your family should be quite proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you get the feeling when you come out of there, you weren't there to say goodbye. You were there actually honoring that person that lived.
Yeah, I think I've heard the same jokes probably about 5 or 6 times.
You know the one, every time I think of Al, I think of Winnie the Pooh. That one, every
Well, that's my philosopher.
It is.
Actually, for explaining death to a child, there's one that's written, and it's actually Christopher Robin becoming older and leaving, and he says, I'm going away for a long time and everything, and Rabbit says, well, I'm used to waiting for the carrots to ripen. I can, you know, we can wait kind of thing. But it really explains death well. And like you said, when you're at a funeral, you think, well, how did that person make me a better person? Or how did that person affect me? Or what if that person hadn't been part of my life?
Yeah.
You know, that we don't know.
God, I got so many questions.
Yeah. But you know, that the quote, there, some people come into your life for a reason. Some people come into your life for a season, and some people come into your life for a lifetime. And that's how you look at it. And if you look back at the low times of your life, and you don't think about it at the time, there'll be somebody that'll come into your life to get you through that. You know, and it might be somebody that's a relative, might be somebody that's a neighbor, but they're there because they care. And that's what gets you through. That grief, that's part of our life, you know, that it's not all happiness. And I mean, we're in a society where there's good and there's evil. Well, there's sad and there's happy. But the majority of life is happy. And I always wonder why I was born in Canada, how lucky I am when you see what's going on, and like the Palestinians going back to no schools, no hospitals, no house, no anything. And yet they've got to start all over again. And they're willing to go back and do that. And I just think that you make the best of every situation. And if you can't do anything about it, then focus on something you can. You know, don't waste your energy on something that, you know, that you can't do anything about.
It's like you said, before we went on live today, you were talking about waking up in the morning. If you wake up with a grump on, that today is going to be a crummy day, and that's the way your day is going to go.
Yeah.
But you can tell your brain how you want your day to go.
That's right.
Mine don't listen though. It's like our old friend Andy Fleming.
Oh, Flem.
And Mr. Flem there said a long time ago that I tell myself to shut up in my own mind, but never works. But you know what, the power. But I've had that. Now this is where, when I had Jeff Urich in, and I said we're going to get Steve Bond in, we're going to talk about diabetes, and we're going to break it down.
Diabetes.
And as a diabetic myself, insulin, I've been 25 years, whatever, very uncontrollable, extreme highs, super. The last couple of lows,
you called Al?
Get ready. He would have been having me coming in there, not
it's
talking,
the big one.
Yeah. I had a couple of that were in the daytime, thank God, because the doctor said if that was night, I wasn't surviving that.
I wasn't trying to joke about that, Tony.
But but that's
it's
but
a podcast,
it's true.
I can do what I want.
But diabetics and depression and anger and stuff that I could be having the most glorious day, and we're sitting here having fun, and within a second, I just feel like this is horrible. Like you can't control it. So you try and tell yourself, work through it, focus on something else, whatever. It is true when you get up in the morning. Sometimes you just know as soon as you open your eyes, this is not going to be a good day. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
Well,
the power's in you.
We ran a random act of kindness day. And it was amazing. The schools got involved and everything, and we had free chili at the arena and that. But to hear how happy these kids were doing something for somebody else, you have to teach them that.
Yeah.
You know, when my girls were young, they volunteered at the hospital as candy stripers. Well, they'd one-on-one with somebody that didn't have anybody, and they came home happier. You know, that
they've enriched somebody else's life.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've given their time, and that made somebody else's day.
And I think at the end of the day, you just say, I did the best I could. And you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. There's people that are going to dislike you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
No matter what. Maybe it's the way you look or whatever,
Yep.
but you just let that go. I remember Mother Teresa saying, they were saying, well, all these people are taking advantage. She said, if I help 1 person out of 10, I've still helped 1 person.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
It's the starfish. Is it the
Yeah.
starfish analogy
Yeah,
I think
but,
you use?
but if you help 1 person, that's what matters,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, to
I
that
took
person.
It, I took it to me now. I do the things I do. It's because I want to do it. It makes me feel good. I love, like this podcast. I don't charge for this. This is me giving back to the community. I want to bring people in. We want to talk, break down, interview.
I charge for this. I thought I was
Mike
getting
does.
paid today,
It's-
actually.
I have
So,
to give.
well,
Listen. I have to give him 6 months of chicken feed.
that's true.
Farmer Mike.
That is true. That's
the
not
other-
cheap. It's $20 a bag.
Well, and the other
Yeah.
thing is, listen to positive stories, listen
Yeah.
to positive music, watch positive movies. Like, there's ways that
Watch
you can
positive podcasts.
influence your brain.
You
Yeah,
said you talked about a couple of books
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
read before you
Yeah.
come in. Can you, okay.
Yeah.
How about recommending a book that viewers can read that if you could pick 1 book or maybe 2?
Well, actually, a fellow to go online, his name is Terry Small. He's an incredible speaker, and it would be nice to bring him actually to this community, but he deals with your brain. He said, well, the number 1 function of your brain is to keep you alive, but how you look after your brain determines how your life will go. And when you think about it, it's like your brain never, well, it sleeps, but it never really sleeps. And what you feed into it will make your life better or worse. But if you have an opportunity, you can go online and actually you can join. He has an organization that you can join. It's called Brain Droppings. But every month he'll send something out that makes you think how you feed your brain.
Yeah.
That your brain has to have certain, chemicals in it to function that let your brain rest.
Okay.
That whether it's taking a walk or
We see that nowadays. In my business as a massage therapist, I see younger and younger adolescents coming in with that. They've had their neck down, just that little hitch in their neck, which we didn't have that as kids,
No,
right?
we
Unless
didn't.
you were reading a book or...
We were always, my
video
generation was the video game.
Sure.
That's right. Or the
We all have our
Atari.
thing.
But yeah,
But
this,
like mental health, Al said, people are... Mary Thornton, who lives on our street, said to me years ago, our street's not the same as it was when the boys were little because they were all out playing. Now you don't see any kids out playing on our street, except for my kids, thankfully. But they're in their rooms. Now, they may be on their headphones talking to a kid wherever, but they're not face-to-face. Like
no,
we
there'd
are
be
here.
a road hockey game and somebody yelled car and you move
Yeah,
the nets
move the
out.
nets.
that's exactly
back.
when I grew up. Mitchell was in road hockey.
You put your
and-
sweatshirt in front of
Yeah.
the sewer so your ball didn't go down the
Exactly.
sewer. Yeah.
Yep.
So, no, it was socialization.
Yeah.
And the thing, we all need each other. And even with grief, I don't care how you recognize a person, but you can't lose a brother or a mother or a sister or whatever and just go to work the next day like nothing happened. You have to you have to be fair to yourself.
Yeah.
And grief will come out in different, it might come out in anger, it might come out in anything. But whatever way that they choose to celebrate that life, it gives closure.
Yeah.
And you can't ignore it. We've become the death-denying society. If we
do you
don't acknowledge it, it didn't happen. Well,
I gotta mention it because
Yep.
12 days ago, I just lost my mom.
yeah.
And she passed on January 18th. It was a Saturday evening. Thank God my sister and my brother, we were there. So, mom would have been happy about that. She's 95 years old. In her 96th year, she had dementia. It still hadn't claimed all of her. There was still some of her there. So, we were already progressing to that. We're losing her.
Right.
So after it happened, I came home Sunday. Suzanne and I were up in Huntsville, and the week before she passed, I was already up there because I got the call, hey, you better come because this is bad. So I already dealt with the funeral home. While I was up there, I thought, you know what? I'm going to call him, talk to him, get everything arranged beforehand, because I don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Like, how are you going to feel? You know, are you emotionally going to be able to do it? If not, you know, I'm glad that I had that to focus on, because
Gives
it
you
wasn't
something
as
to
hard.
keep
Yeah.
your brain going.
Then I came home and I took that first week off last week. I didn't come back to work till Friday. Yeah, it still hasn't hit me.
Yeah.
It hasn't hit me at all. It's kind of surreal, I think.
Do you think it's
Really,
different
she's
because
gone.
she lived further away, Tony, and she's not
That
right
was
here
a big
for you
thing.
to go
No,
see?
I think that was a big thing too, because we were close. Like, I used to talk at least once a week. I'd go up 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Last few years, it was maybe once a year.
You took a lot of emergency trips up
I
there in
did
the
take a
last
lot
few
of
years.
mercy. Yeah, you did see that.
Yeah.
The dementia side of it, this last year, the calls got less and less. She used to call me all the time, but it got to a point where I couldn't call her because there was nothing to really talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like, hey, hi, how you doing, Mom? And she, oh, I'm okay. Oh, so, you know, what are you doing? Not much.
Watching TV.
What's the weather? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, do you have a good breakfast? I don't know. So there really wasn't much there
No.
to talk. It was more to call to stimulate her brain, I guess, and keep her going. My brother now, that may affect him a lot more, because he was the caregiver. He retired from
there.
the Toronto School Board. He's a PSW. So he moved in almost 3 years and took care of her. So he's still there and has to deal with, you know. But the other side of all of this that keeps me going too is, okay, so I still haven't figured it out that she's gone, right? No will. We tried to get her for years, get a will, power of attorney papers. So many times I was up there, got all that stuff. So now I have an appointment with a lawyer on the 31st tomorrow, to apply at the courts up in Northern Ontario for me to grant power of appointee or something it's called, which I'm sure you probably had people that have had to deal with this, right? So dealing with their bank accounts, been told now the courts are so backlogged, could be a year. The funeral home told me up there that, you know, be prepared to wait, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But they were really good, because they said out of straight cremation, there's no service, Mom didn't want any of that stuff. So, hey, she's 96.
No offense, Al.
She's a little old English girl. Oh yeah, she went out her way. But you know, they were like, you don't have to pay us anything. She had the life insurance. We'll get all that. We'll just, you know.
The only thing with that I would recommend is, as a family, that whether it's a potluck or whatever, you need, if you want to deal with it, and you're, like you said, you're not dealing, have something like that, because you need to get together and share stories.
Oh yeah.
And that's closure. That, as I say, no matter what you do, you still have to have closure. And with dementia and Alzheimer's and that, you lose the person twice.
Yeah, you do.
You know, but getting together and remember when we did this, or remember poor Mom had to do that, or whatever, you need to get together. You need to recognize family. Imperfect or whatever, you need to have that time, because you won't move on till you had that.
You've seen that hundreds of times,
Yes.
thousands of times.
Like you were saying, that it's like it's not real.
Yeah.
That's reality. When you get together and you say, look, this is what Mom left. Look at the legacy of family that she's left. And
Remember this book, or remember,
remember us
story.
Remember us getting in trouble doing this, or remember Mom didn't think we didn't.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Hey, I got really good at ducking.
Yeah. Well, I
She
always,
would whip stuff. Oh,
my mother had a fly swatter. She's chasing me around the dining room table, and she can't catch me. So she sits down and she pretends she's crying. While I go to console her, I got the fly swatter. I wasn't very smart. But you know, today that doesn't happen, or you hear about the wooden spoon, wooden spoon or whatever. But I said, we grew up in a friendly dictatorship. If we did what we were told, they were friendly.
There was no problem.
Yes. But
good.
you need to tell those stories. And when you get together as a family, you can. If you don't, like there's people that maybe live in BC and their mom or their dad died. They don't come home, because as long as they stay in BC, it didn't happen.
It hasn't happened. Yeah.
You know, to come home and just take a little bit of time.
Is there some guilt involved in that too, do
Yeah.
you think? Yeah.
I was just going to say that because grief is so powerful. I mean, it's a monster.
That's what Al said. It's a
Yeah.
roller coaster.
It's like the tides. It ebbs and it flows. But you still, once you get closure, you say, geez, you know, Mom's still with me. You know, that I can think of this or remember
I've
that.
always believed that.
Yeah.
You may not see them, but they're still here.
They're still with you. They're
It's
part of your
just-
fabric. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
or I've reached that stage in life. Oh my God, I've become my father. Or, oh my God, I've become,
Oh, yeah, I know.
become
I've
my
seen-
mother.
yeah.
Or you know that.
My
but
sister always used to say that. Geez,
Yeah.
if I ever look like mom or act like mom, she said, you better shoot me.
But you do. You have. I look at my grandchildren. They have mannerisms that they don't even know where they came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do.
Yeah.
You know.
Isn't it funny how that can skip generations
Yeah.
to where you will see your grandfather in your grandson?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
4 generations later, and all of a sudden it's like,
Or their
that is-
interests.
But,
or
but
whatever.
you know,
Yeah.
when you have your first child born, you think, well, I can direct them here. I can. No, they're born with a personality.
Yeah, it's already
What
in them.
you're going to do is help them along that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And take that energy. Well, maybe we should get into sports rather than go to jail. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's always a good idea.
Yeah,
But-
but it's true. They're born with a personality, and
Absolutely.
my son has a little 1-year-old daughter, and of course she's getting saucy.
She's ruling the house.
Yeah, and they will if you let them, but you have to rein them in.
oh yeah, yeah.
But
well,
he's
you got to cross them and guide them, but you
Yeah.
know, by
Or
8, you're done. They already know.
I got
everything,
I got
right?
spanked.
yeah.
So that stopped me
I
from
got
doing
it.
a few things.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. I used to come home. My dad would have the chair. in the
You
auditorium.
don't
Yeah.
have to stop there. When you went to school, you could get the strap.
The strap,
Yeah.
100%.
You know, and I remember a
I never-
teacher saying I didn't have to. All I had to do was put it on my desk.
Yeah.
The message got through loud and clear.
I just knew
Now-
that the strap was in the desk. That's all I
That's
needed
all
to
you
hear.
need. Now, did you ever get close to getting that?
Yes.
Yeah. Good one. Good one. Because I know I did too. But awesome. So yeah, growing up then. So let's get it. Just a little. What did you get into? Like it's only us, all right. So don't worry about cameras.
Yes.
and
Look at the
lights. So-
camera.
Well, typical
Like-
boy stuff. You know,
Yeah.
playing
Starting
with
fires.
matches and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
typical boy stuff. That
Did you ever do the magnifying glass and the crickets?
start
and
that. No, I started the paper on fire on my desk.
Oh, did you really?
Well, they gave out magnifying glasses to everybody, and I'm in the back window, and I'm going like this. So, whoosh.
Oh, that's funny. In the class.
Slam the desktop down.
That's I never thought of that one. Oh my God. We did Mitchell. We Nicky Nicky Nine Door. We used to
Yeah.
run around all the time. But I used to draw these goofy little pictures, and then we'd stick them on people's doors, and bang, 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 and then we all run and hide
Oh.
across the street. And people come
You
out.
went all out. I never
Oh,
did the
we
pictures.
did.
I just,
yeah,
I
we used
just
to
not.
draw the goofiest little things. On
Our
there.
son, Christian, is 21 years old now. He and 2 friends, this was about 15 years ago, they had 2 friends stayed overnight, and they decided to play Nicky Nine Door on our street, which is the number 1 mistake. Number 2 mistake is they did one particular house and then continued on, and then came back and did the houses again.
Oh, yeah.
The guy in the one particular house
was waiting?
was awake and aware of who they were, let them do it, let them go home, and then called the police the next day. So we had the OPP show up at our house.
No.
And so that was a little overkill, but anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to
I
say
finally got
that's
to say that
heavy.
on TV. That was overkill.
Yes.
But anyway.
That is
We'll leave
actually
it
a
at
little
that.
hard, but yeah.
But anyway, they learned their lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
Well,
So-
and you know, the hardest thing to discipline your children is when they do something and you did the exact
Yeah,
same
oh.
thing.
Oh, I know. yeah, yeah.
Were you perfect? No.
No.
I do remember my dad said to me one time, I was getting a good one this time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, they just, in the 70s, got the shag orange carpet in the big family room we had. Big, thick shag. And I, matches, and I lit a balloon on fire. And it melted into right in the center of the living room. So it melted into the shag, and I remember freaking out. And I had a Fisher-Price town thing that was, you bring it to your cars and all that. And I think I was 6, maybe. But I remember getting this Fisher-Price town and setting it right on top of the burn and thinking, they'll never find this. They'll never see it.
Got it.
And I came back, and the chair was sitting in the doorway as soon as I walked in. And I that would just
The chair in the doorway?
Oh,
Does that mean you're not coming in? Or?
No, the chair. Like you walk in the front door and the archway to the kitchen, and the chair would be right there, and that's the spanking coming.
Oh,
Yeah, my dad.
The
my
spanking
dad,
chair. Got it.
Yep. My dad was from Belgium.
Yeah.
He was a cop. He had a hand of steel, and but I never forgot that time when he took me in, guided me to that thing, and he's like, "What's that?" And of course, I'm freaking, right? But I never forgot, though, when he took me back to the chair and he said, you know, the one thing I hate with this is it always hurts me more than it hurts you. And I thought, as later on, I thought, oh, what a load of crap that was. Boy, that ever hurt. But when I got my own son came, I understood.
Yeah.
It was absolutely heartbreaking that I had to do something to show him. But, you know, what you just did was, no, you can't do this. But
I think we need more of that nowadays myself.
actually, we do.
Yeah.
We do, because
That's
the
called,
whole
it's called parenting.
yes. How many times do I ever see in the St. Thomas Police are called, OPP are called to a family that, well, we have problems with my 12-year-old kid. I need you to come over and talk to him. Really?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
This is, but yeah, no, I agree with that. It's getting a little.
Yeah, that's a whole
That's a
other
little-
program.
That's right. We'll get away from
Tune
that.
in
But
next week when we discover parenting tips.
that's right.
And then
that's
we'll
right.
bring in the teachers and they can tell
Correct.
their side of the
We'll
story.
just put the
Now-
mic down and let them go.
Alan, I wanted to talk because before we went on the recording, the hospice care.
Yes.
Okay, so with Jeff Urick, we did talk a little bit about our new hospice that's going to be here on South Edgeware. I didn't know, but you are on the.
I'm going on the.
You're going on it. They want to recruit you. Now, I told you about with my mom in palliative and how they only had a few beds in Huntsville. They had a hospice area, but it's so full. You just can't get in there. Man, the importance of it.
Well,
Like
we've had families have to go Kitchener, London, wherever, get in a hospice, and
That's hard though.
it
because
is, but,
that's-
and everybody deserves dignity, and families can't just drive to Kitchener. Whereas if it's St. Thomas, they can be there. Somebody in the family can be there every hour of every day. Like it's a matter of sharing, but people deserve dignity. They deserve to be treated, and the family deserves the dignity. So
Absolutely, and that's one thing my dad taught me, like all the years though too. He said, and I carried this all my years at Delaware. Whenever I drove truck, whenever I saw a funeral coming, I pulled over. Hat, my hat was off, and I waited till the very last car.
I
went
turn
by.
the music down too.
Yeah,
I think-
yeah.
I don't know if
exactly.
But
everybody does.
but you know
Yep.
something, I said that you can teach people a lot of things, but you can't teach them empathy. Empathy comes from home. Your parents taught you empathy, or somebody took the time, a teacher taught you empathy. But when people pull over, I think, how empathetic. They're thinking that could be my mom, that could be my dad, or my brother, or my sister. And the families, especially families from larger centers, we can't believe it. People.
Really?
Well, when Wellington Street School was open, when we drive by there, somebody had the kids stand at attention. They would stand at attention when we went by.
Okay.
But that has to be taught.
Yeah.
It's like saying please and thank you. You have to teach your children that take the time to write a letter. Thank you for the Christmas gift, or thank you for the flowers, or we need to teach people to do that because it's important. But empathy, so many things come from home, but empathy definitely comes from home. That you learn to care about other people. I mean, that's where my learning came from my mother and father. My father was quite involved in the community in Aylmer, and one of the charter members of the Optimist Club, and numerous things like that. My mother, likewise, she was very involved. So that's what I learned. My children have learned from my wife and I that get involved with United Way, get involved in those things. That if you help one person, feel good about it. It's just
Yeah.
That's true.
You mentioned Kim, your wife. We haven't talked about her yet. We should probably spend a
should
couple of
mention her.
minutes, or maybe a
Yeah.
couple
Well,
of
on the
minutes. 'cause she's-
concert, the concert that we put on for hospice, she went around to all local artists, and they all, with no receipt, no anything, donated paintings.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
it went extremely well. but this is what we have in our thing. We got a community that we take for granted. This is a special community.
It actually is.
You know,
Yeah.
My wife,
talk to the people out there, and they'll tell you. It's just
you talk to people that don't live here.
Yeah.
And you did what? You're doing what? What kind of festival? It's just they're
Yeah.
sure we've had our issues with factories leaving and all that. Every community does, and homelessness and such. But we do have a special community here. We really do. And even this is back to last year. Somebody very close to me lost their dog, ran away, and she posted it. She called me, and we posted it on social media. And the amount of response that little dog got for being lost blew my daughter out of the water. My daughter said, "Dad, I had no idea people around our area were so caring about a dog that they don't even know who the owner is," right? And it was just
a cute story to that was when I was living at home, my brother was left in charge of my grandmother's poodle. Well, anyway, he opened the door and the poodle was gone. Well, you could phone into CHLO and Bob Hammers there, Bob Williams, they put an all points bulletin. I ended up with 6 poodles of work mine. People were grabbing poodles. And it turned out that the poodle went over to the north side of town to the house next door where my grandparents used to go and visit all the time. It was one door out, but we got the poodle back that night. But,
Gosh.
But you wouldn't believe the phone calls. People were grabbing, because back then dogs weren't on leashes. Like back when I was young, people's dogs just ran the streets.
They did.
Yeah.
So they bring these, nope, that's not it.
Ours is black. That's why.
We didn't pick up dog poo back then. I remember how many times stepping in that.
And don't walk on my lawn.
No.
Get off my
That's
lot
right.
of signs that said stay off the lawn.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you wanted to talk about his significant other.
Yeah, just Kim, and she is an artist, or she knows a lot of artists. If she's not, no, Kim is a great artist, and her involvement in the community too, and supporting you and raising such a great family of involved people in the community. You met Kim in grade 10?
Grade 10.
Grade 10 at Parkside.
Yes.
And tell us how that all went, because I'm curious.
I was into sports and everything, but I was fond of her, so I would borrow pens from her, and I had a whole locker of pens by the end of the year.
Oh my gosh.
But I was involved with sports and everything, so we really didn't go out or anything until later on in high school. But I would be on a bus to a wrestling match or a football game or whatever, and we just hung out at school, and like I wasn't into the dating or anything like that, but I was involved so much in the school thing, so it just kind of evolved.
So she knew what you were going to be before you knew what you were going to be.
Yeah,
kind
well,
of thing,
and I had no fashion sense at all. I dressed like Herb Tarlick, and she said to a girlfriend, "I can help him."
That's funny because I don't even think of Al without this.
No, I don't know if Al. I think
Well,
Al wears that to bed.
she's the one that told me that stripes and plaids don't go together.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
I don't.
Like you don't.
If I saw him in clothes other than this, I don't even.
Yeah, what do you wear on vacation, Al?
Well, I always laugh because people say, "Are you working?" Because, yeah, I got a tie on. I'm working.
How many ties do you have?
A lot. And I'm the most popular person at a wedding because no guy knows how to tie their tie.
Oh, so you're doing.
I'm doing everybody's tie.
You can do it. You don't even have to move. Just
No.
lay there. Just lay there. I got
That
you.
is so good.
So you I don't know where this came from, but you started out embalming people. You actually went through that process where you worked at the funeral home and you did that part of it. You prefer that part of it, or do you like the part that you're doing now?
I love the people part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even if I can make them laugh or whatever, the people part, a couple of weeks ago, a lady, and she was 96, and she lost her husband, and she has no family here. And I said, well, if you need anything or something comes up, just give me a call. Well, that night at 9 o'clock, I get a phone call. My cable's not working.
Oh, no.
So I said, well, unplug it and plug it back in. It should reboot itself. So she phones back. She says, my cable's working. What do you know about income tax? I said, nothing. But, you assume everybody has extended family and everything, and not all of them do. And sometimes if you can just reach out to somebody and say, well, can you recommend a good plumber, or can you recommend a good electrician? And they're older and they don't want to be taken advantage of, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But you get to know people that are like, there's electricians that I'll call and they never give a bill. Like they just stop in and change a switch or put a new lock on, and that's what our community is all about. You know, that it's not getting paid for everything.
That's
You
right.
know, you walk out of there. I said the other day, when you do something right, you don't need somebody to tell you.
There don't need the
You feel
acknowledgement.
good. Yeah,
you
you
do.
feel. Hey,
Don't need to post it on
No.
Facebook that I paid for the guy's
carry
car.
somebody's groceries out or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's those little tiny acts that mean
Random
so
acts
much.
of kindness that we should do every day.
Exactly. If everybody did that,
Yeah.
you know, what a community. And that's what I say. This St. Thomas is special because a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they do. And we don't know about it.
Yeah.
And if you do, you don't say anything.
I
You
remember Dr. Harry Rodney, who was minister for 60-some years at Knox, said, you know, when good deeds become so rare that you have to announce them, it's a sad day, because every day millions of good deeds
True.
go on.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true.
every single day that people
Now-
show up at the funeral home with a blueberry pie or whatever, that, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question that came up because over your years and all of the services that you've done, I know you've seen some pretty weird stuff. So
Unique. It's
Yeah,
unique.
yeah. Let's go with unique.
Sure.
So, from anything really stand out in your mind, like really funny? I mean, your services are like celebrating the life, and it's quite. It is quite a different service at Williams to some of them I've been to, but man, I've had some good laughter in your place. So,
Well,
what stands out in your mind? Like
but-
something really funny has ever
Well,
happened?
every day there's something funny.
Yeah.
But you have to step outside your comfort zone. Like when somebody wants something different, step outside your comfort zone. You know, we had a little girl service where they wanted to move her whole bedroom suite into the funeral, and they
Oh,
did.
really?
They had her
Oh, wow.
dressers and everything. So, you know,
That'd be
and
emotional.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and if we can make it happen,
Yeah.
we will. But you're dealing with people. And when you're dealing with people, there's funny things happen. You know, it's just whether it's the mispronunciation of something or whatever, that you don't go through a day without being able to smile or laugh. And I said that to my kids, whatever you do not lose your sense of humor, because it'll get you through.
Yeah. I remember when my grandma Arts passed away and we had the service at Williams, and our kids were much younger then. Garrett, our middle son, I don't know if he was maybe 7 or 8 or 9. And you had both rooms because of a big Dutch funeral. We had grandma in the main room, and then we had sandwiches and snacks in the other room. And we are mostly in the other room with the food, and Karen and I are looking around for Garrett. Couldn't find him. And I looked in the other room, and there he is, kneeling in front of Grandma Arts' casket with a big crusty bun sandwich, with the crumbs falling down onto my grandma. And I said, Garrett, what are you doing? Talking to Grandma. What do you say to that, right? Like, we shouldn't put crumbs in Grandma's casket. Well, who the hell cares, right? Like, or who cares? But anyway, for him, that was his time with Grandma Arts, and it was eating a sandwich. So I'm sure you've seen that before.
Because the kids will come up to my office or whatever, and I think they relate to me because I'm their level. But anyway, I had gone to do something and come back, and the little boy's sitting in my chair. So the mother comes up to find her son, and he's sitting in the chair, and he says, "Can I help you?"
Nice.
I said, "Well, you know, he's our newest staff member."
That is nice. Now that used to be a residence up there
Yes,
one
it
time,
did,
right?
yeah.
So did your parents ever
No,
have that up there? or-
before answering service, before all of that, you had to have somebody on the phones 24/7.
Okay.
So the lady that lived up there would man the phones all night. Like she got free rent, but she would answer the phones during the night and the doorbell if it rang or whatever. So
Any plans on moving from that location now?
no. And you know, it's funny because people from out of town, even yesterday, they can't get over how beautiful the old building is. It's got a personality.
It sure
to it,
does.
You know.
Does.
There's
I
sometimes that you think, well, maybe a more functional, but
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody that's been there knows what you have to do to go to a
Well,
funeral.
and the other thing is, if you get a large funeral, there's other venues like
I'm gonna put
the
this up on
Masonic
the screen.
Center, and
You can do the
Yeah,
service there. Yeah.
Yes.
That
If you
grass
look real
needs to be
close, I'll
cut.
be looking over the top.
I love that the employees, Al, that you have, and you have great employees there too. Dave Gifford,
Yeah.
to name one, over the years, cut the grass in their suits. I love that. Is
Yes,
that an
I
old
know,
thing,
I
or is
still-
that?
But
Yeah.
you know, a lady came in, she and her daughter, their mom lived here, but she was from Michigan. And they drove around at all the different funeral homes. And she said to her daughter, you know, if they take that much pride in wearing a tie cut in the grass, we know the inside will be even better.
Wow.
And
cool.
so I said,
Yeah,
would you
yeah.
tell my staff that? You know?
Yeah.
And
Because I imagine you get a little bit of grief for that on a hot summer day. Like, I got to wear my
Yeah.
double Windsor knot
Yeah,
that Al
exactly.
tied for
But-
me.
Yeah, but I mention that every time I drove by with Suzanne. I'm like, oh, look at them poor buggers out there.
But
So hot, but yet it looks so cool.
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
It really does. Like you talk about stuff like that. Okay, so I'll put these up on the screen, but look at this one.
Al looks so
Back-
much younger in that picture.
I'm gonna think Al does look quite young in this, right? But when I'm seeing the police officers here, I don't know what. Alan, does this photograph come up to anything? Now that wouldn't be Colin McGregor's funeral, maybe 1934. I think that was.
It could be.
Do you think that? Because I see
Could be, yeah.
the
It,
constables.
it definitely was either a police officer or a fireman.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely. And those coach lights, if
Yes.
you go in our chapel, are hanging. On
Is that the lights?
Those are the lights.
Oh wow!
And
I
they
didn't
were
know that.
converted to electricity, but those are the.
Those are the coach lights.
Right in the center of the picture when
Yeah.
you're seeing it on the screen. Yeah.
Well, that,
And
There you
there's,
go.
you know, there's still that is available if somebody like a fellow down.
that coach.
Yeah, down in. Actually, a fellow in London now has got it. O'Neill, Joe O'Neill's got one.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Is what?
And there's also, we have one that is available it's a sidecar on a Harley, and it's for a casket, and it travels all over Ontario.
Yes, I have heard of that one.
There's
yes.
a little side job for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here's one. I don't know where this was taken. Now
Okay,
this picture. So
that one is where Lucky Gardens, next to the Rendezvous,
Yeah.
across
On
from
Talbot
Holy
Street.
Angels Church. They were at two places on Talbot Street. They were there, and then where Locke's Insurance was on
Okay.
Talbot, they were there. But the problem was, back then, you had visitation in the home, you had everything in the home. So people would come and they wouldn't leave. So you'd have to feed a mass of people. So out of it evolved, well, let's have a funeral home that we can have defined visitation hours, but we can still come back
so
to
is
our
this
home.
pre the
Interesting.
building on Elgin?
No, this is right next to.
That's on Talbot Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Talbot.
Yeah,
but I'm
right
saying,
across
Is this before the
Yes.
actual funeral home?
1929, Williams moved from Talbot Street
Okay.
to
the
where they are.
current
Wow.
location.
1929.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
and
so
I've got
years.
the Salvation Army band. I got the agenda for the grand opening of it.
96
And they
years
had
ago.
they had the priests and the ministers and everybody there for the grand opening.
Huh.
So,
How
Okay.
old is the home itself? The building itself?
141 years old.
So it was around there for a while.
Well,
before
I
it
laugh because we changed all the knobbing 2 years ago, probably 67, 68.
Yeah.
So they come in for inspection, and the fellow says, well, no, I said they've all been changed. So the first wire he cut was live. There wasn't another one, but
Wasn't another
he
one.
said, well, I think we missed one here.
Okay, I gotta ask this question. This is I've had so many people all over the years ask they talk about this. Is Williams Funeral Home haunted? I had to ask this because
If
I
it,
have-
if it is,
now
they're only friendly ghosts.
yeah,
All
no,
Yeah.
and I have heard that. It's I've talked to a couple of people that work at your place, and the one young
Oh,
girl.
they're gonna be
She
fired.
says, no, she's awesome. She says, there's some things happen, but she says nothing bad,
No.
nothing ever bad, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
that stuff. I talked to you about the Man in Black at West Ave
Yeah.
Cemetery that has Leslie when she ran
Yeah.
that. I've actually seen that, and I came to Allan one time. It was at a service. I showed
Yeah.
up, and he's like, "Oh, you saw the Man in Black," that secured it for me. But there you go. People have asked us, or asked me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they asked you. I don't know. But man, Williams is haunted. Like, I don't know. I've never seen
Just
anything or
me.
heard. But
I'll think differently the next time I'm in there for a funeral now.
Yep. You got to go looking for it.
I will.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. With a building 141 years
Yeah.
old, you get creaks and
Going to be some energy and
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Because that's what we are.
Yeah.
We are energy, right?
Yeah.
And where does energy go?
well,
beyond
and
the
you
soul?
can't destroy energy. It can be
That's
changed.
right.
It can't be destroyed.
That's right. So, no, that's cool. Quickly, because I know, wow, we're over an hour already there. Alan, I want to touch on the importance of pre-arrangement for a funeral. Okay, so
Now we're going to talk business,
yeah,
listener.
yeah, because this is after going through this stuff with my mom and everything else that I'm learning. Karen, that was my wife's name. Suzanne and I are. I hope she's not watching this one.
We'll edit.
Yeah, we're going and doing our wills, power of attorney, everything with Bozier. We've got appointments set up. I want to get this done, but to pre-arrange a funeral. Okay, so what's the steps of this? I come and see you.
Well, not necessarily. Like I've got next week 4 different families that I'm going to their house.
Oh, okay. So you.
So people are most comfortable in their house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I go to their house. I give them a basic information sheet, explain what benefits, like you mentioned about Canada or cremation.
Yeah.
Well, your Canada pension is going to look after probably 90% of the cost.
Yeah.
The death benefit, the $2,500.
Yeah.
So the most important thing isn't prepaying as much as is writing down, because when something happens, there's always one in the family that seems to be responsible. Yeah. That steps up. Well, if you can alleviate that, this is our lawyer. This is what we want. Just have to call Alan. He can pull the file, and it's right there.
Okay. Now that file though, so Mike, say you go in and he
Yeah.
anybody, okay? That's registered in a central
No, we have the file right there.
So only you have it. So
Right.
what happens if he moves and goes to Ottawa and
That's not going to happen.
no, I know. But or you do move out west and he passes away there, but
You just transfer
Well,
that.
if nobody knows he had a pre-arranged funeral.
Well, I always tell people, tell your family.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it makes sense. This is
Yeah.
my lawyer.
Yeah.
I've talked to Alan. All you have to do is call Alan, and he has a file for me.
Okay.
I guess you-
And there again, if say it's in Alberta,
Yeah.
and I get a phone call from your son in Alberta, Dad's died. Well, we
Okay.
can arrange for cremation there
Yep.
for you, and you can.
Bring it back or
Yeah.
whatever their
Okay.
wishes
Yeah, exactly.
were. But the pre-arrangement gives the person the opportunity to make sure that
It
their
gives
service,
it gives direction.
yeah,
And
of what you
and
want.
like you said, you're trying to get your mom to make a will.
Yeah.
My
we
statement
tried.
for that, for older
Yeah.
people, because they're afraid if they make a will, they're going to die.
Yeah.
My statement is, do you want to give it to the government, or would you like your family to have it?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a will, there's going to be costs involved.
Oh yeah.
So why not make
Yeah.
a will? It's like some people think I buy life insurance, I'm going to die. Well, it's best to have it in place.
You
Everybody,
are.
yeah.
You
but-
are going to die.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's not like tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's
The most important thing is writing it down
Okay.
and letting somebody know that you've done that.
That's your takeaway.
Okay. So to pay for a pre-arrangement, do you have to pay all up front for that? Is it
No.
you can make payments towards it?
People make payments. It's what there's
Okay.
one lady that when she wins at bingo comes in and puts something on her pre-arrangement.
I bring in a
Oh,
blueberry.
does she?
I love
Nice.
that.
Bingo.
$14.50. Huh?
This funeral was brought to you by
And some people come in like once a year.
Yeah.
And whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's no standard. What works for you?
Wow. Okay. I get
So,
that.
okay.
And
yeah.
there were a number of people that just put like $50 down before HST and GST come in because they can't grandfather it, so that when they pass away, they don't have to pay the HST or GST.
We'll screw them right, right into the ground. till I
There's
know
always
the
somebody figuring an angle.
Yeah, there is.
So-
There is. Yes. All right.
this
Well,
has been
this is awesome.
This has been
Do you
good.
have anything else for Al?
I think I know everything about Al I need to know and want to know now at this point.
Yeah. No,
Not want to
that
know. I
is-
shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I love Al.
I mean, we didn't even touch on half the subjects.
No, we're going to have to
got
come back
into.
tomorrow.
Come back
What
tomorrow.
are you doing?
Yes.
Well, I have to head to Dorchester, so tomorrow would be good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank you
Allan,
very much.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thanks for
Okay.
everything you do, though, in the
Yes.
community. I
Keep
mean,
doing it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike,
Thanks, Al.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's been
Yeah,
great.
I
It's
am
been a
so
good hour.
happy to have you in here. And Alan's in. Look at that. He's already.
He's
skating.
got his microphone
He's
coming
boot
off. Yeah.
scooting and boogieing right out of here.
Get that
I'll
off my
turn it
tie.
all
I got to
down.
get out of here.
That's right.
All
So,
right.
okay, folks. Thanks again tuning in. Yeah, never know. Keep watching.
Full Monty.
Mike will be back
Sometime.
sometime.
We'll see. Maybe
We'll
I'll
have
dress up
another
next
guy.
time.
Right
Okay.
on. Okay. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
I told him that.